$370 billion. That's the staggering amount at risk if Donald Trump dismantles Joe Biden's aggressive green energy mandates. The electric vehicle revolution could hit a brick wall, and Trump may be the one driving the bulldozer. In a stunning shift, Trump has promised to obliterate billions in EV subsidies, unleashing a tidal wave of consequences across Tesla, GM, and Ford. Are America's auto giants ready for the $370 billion earthquake? This is not just a political maneuver, it's a direct threat to one of the largest economic transitions in modern U.S. history. The auto industry stands at a crossroads, where the decisions made in the next few years could either launch American manufacturing into a new era or pull it back into a bygone age of oil dependence. Investors are nervous, workers are uncertain, and global competitors are watching closely. Will Trump's aggressive stance lead to a resurgence of American energy dominance? Or will it leave the country lagging behind in the new industrial revolution? Stay tuned as we dive deep into Trump's brewing war against electric vehicles. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts on who you think will survive this historic upheaval. Part 1. Trump's bold plan to eliminate EV subsidies. One of Trump's first targets, the $7,500 federal tax credits currently fueling the EV industry. Trump has made it clear, if re-elected, he plans to slash these critical incentives that have artificially propped up electric vehicle sales. For Tesla, this could mean an immediate hit to demand in the U.S. market, where buyers heavily rely on these subsidies. GM and Ford, who are pouring over $30 billion each into EV development, would suddenly find themselves stuck with overpriced products in a market that isn't ready to fully embrace them without financial incentives. Without subsidies, the average price of an EV could become unattainable for a large segment of American consumers, reversing the progress made over the past decade. Moreover, the downstream effects could ripple into battery production, supply chains, dealership networks, and even the resale market, where depreciation rates could skyrocket. Industry analysts predict a possible 20–30% drop in EV sales within the first 2 years if subsidies are eliminated. This policy shift would not only reshape consumer behavior, but could also impact America's standing in the global race for EV leadership, especially as Europe and China continue to heavily subsidize their own industries. Additionally, slashing subsidies would likely slow down the pace of innovation, as automakers may cut back on R&D budgets in an effort to stay afloat. The technology gap between American EV manufacturers and their international counterparts could widen, eroding the United States' competitive edge in this critical industry. Furthermore, states heavily invested in the EV economy, such as California, Texas, and Michigan, could experience significant economic downturns, affecting not only jobs but also tax revenues and public services. In the broader context, eliminating these subsidies would send a powerful signal about America's commitment to combating climate change, likely drawing international criticism and undermining diplomatic efforts centered around environmental leadership. Part 2. Trade War 2.0. Trump's tariffs on Chinese EVs. Trump has vowed to impose crushing 100% tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles and components. While this might seem like a win for domestic manufacturers, it's a double-edged sword. Tesla's Shanghai factory exports to the U.S., and Ford and GM rely heavily on Chinese suppliers for battery parts. New tariffs could spike production costs by as much as $10,000 per vehicle, delay EV rollouts, and destabilize supply chains already stretched thin. Chinese manufacturers like BYD and NIO, which were planning aggressive entries into the American market, could either retreat or find creative ways around tariffs through partnerships in third countries. Meanwhile, American consumers would inevitably feel the impact with higher sticker prices and longer wait times for new EV models. Analysts warn that these tariffs could also trigger retaliatory measures from China, further complicating an already tense geopolitical relationship. If key battery materials like lithium and cobalt, resources dominated by Chinese processing plants, become part of the tariff war, the entire North American EV rollout timeline could be pushed back by years. This escalation could extend into other sectors such as consumer electronics and renewable energy infrastructure, amplifying the overall economic disruption. Multinational corporations might seek to diversify their supply chains away from China, but such shifts require years of investment and restructuring. Meanwhile, small and mid-sized EV startups could be disproportionately affected, potentially consolidating the market in favor of legacy automakers who can absorb short-term losses. The broader risk lies in the destabilization of global trade norms, creating uncertainty that could deter foreign investment and weaken America's influence in shaping the future rules of global commerce. Part 3. The Revival of Gas-Powered Vehicles. Trump's vision includes rolling back Biden-era EPA regulations designed to phase out internal combustion engines. Under Trump, gas-powered cars and trucks would enjoy a new renaissance. This could shift consumer behavior dramatically. Ford's F-150 Lightning and GM's Silverado EV, both crucial to their future strategies, might struggle as Americans return to cheaper, familiar gas models. Tesla, which is 100% electric, faces an even bigger existential threat if national policies suddenly favor gasoline over innovation. The oil and gas sector, already emboldened by the prospect of relaxed regulations, could push for lower gas prices, further enticing consumers back to internal combustion vehicles. This trend could erode years of environmental progress, increase America's carbon footprint, and set back global efforts to combat climate change. From a business perspective, traditional automakers may face strategic paralysis, torn between maintaining costly EV programs and pivoting back to gas-powered mainstays. The battle over vehicle emissions standards would not just affect automakers, but would also ripple through fuel suppliers, parts manufacturers, and even local economies. Tied to the automotive sector, consumers may also be caught in a confusing market dynamic, where shifting regulations create uncertainty over vehicle resale values, insurance rates, and long-term maintenance costs. Furthermore, global automakers operating in multiple jurisdictions could face logistical headaches trying to produce vehicles that comply with diverging regulatory standards in the US, Europe, and Asia. In the end, America's position as a leader in automotive innovation could be severely undermined, leaving it trailing behind countries that continue to push forward with aggressive electrification strategies. Part 4. The Labor Shockwave, Union Pressure and Layoffs. The United Auto Workers, UAW, endorsed Biden because of his EV agenda and promises of green jobs. But if Trump's anti-EV policies are enacted, many of these green factories could stall or shutter. Over 50,000 workers could face layoffs, igniting labor unrest. GM and Ford, which have bet their future on EV plants in Michigan, Ohio, and elsewhere, could be caught between union demands for job security and a market rapidly abandoning EVs. Meanwhile, Tesla's non-unionized workforce could give Elon Musk more flexibility, but even he won't be immune to a demand crash. Union leaders have warned that without strong federal support for EV transition programs, the traditional automotive workforce, already strained by technological shifts, could face its most significant crisis in generations. Mass layoffs would not only devastate local economies, but could also become a major political flashpoint, potentially swinging key industrial swing states in future elections. The broader ripple effects could extend into educational institutions, vocational training programs, and even federal and state budgets, as unemployment benefits and retraining costs soar. Social tensions could intensify as displaced workers seek to assign blame for their economic hardships, potentially leading to heightened political polarization. In addition, a weakened labor market could discourage future investments in the American auto sector, pushing more companies to automate their operations or shift manufacturing overseas. This erosion of the middle-class workforce would have long-lasting implications for the overall health of the U.S. economy, exacerbating income inequality and diminishing consumer spending power. Part 5. Strategic Chaos. A new auto industry power shift. Trump's intervention could cause an unprecedented power shift. Companies slow to embrace EVs like Toyota might gain ground. Traditional gas models could dominate sales charts once again. Ford and GM, mid-transformation, could face financial bloodbaths trying to pivot back. Tesla, whose brand is tied entirely to the EV movement, would be forced to double down internationally as the U.S. market shrinks. In essence, Trump's war against electric vehicles could completely redraw the global auto map, setting back American innovation by a decade or more. The reallocation of capital investment from EVs back to internal combustion projects would have deep financial implications, slashing company valuations and reshaping stock market dynamics. Global alliances could shift, with European and Asian automakers capitalizing on America's retreat from EV leadership. In the worst-case scenario, America's auto industry could find itself permanently sidelined in the future transportation economy, much like it lost dominance in sectors such as consumer electronics decades ago. This would represent not just AEE, business failure, but a strategic blunder on the world stage. Moreover, a vacuum in American EV leadership could embolden China and Europe to set the global standards for electric mobility, leaving U.S. companies perpetually playing catch-up. Over time, supply chain dominance, battery technology leadership, and EV software ecosystems could be firmly established outside the United States, making it exceedingly difficult for future American administrations to regain lost ground. The ETE ripple effects would extend beyond cars, impacting energy grids, urban planning, and the broader green economy. Final thoughts: the stakes could not be higher. Trump versus the EV industry isn't just a battle over cars. It's a war over the future of American manufacturing, energy, and global leadership. Tesla, GM, and Ford are staring down a potential economic earthquake, and every move matters. Will they adapt, retreat, or collapse? We'll be watching closely. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay with us as we continue covering the biggest shifts in the global auto landscape.